I'm here with Josh Howard. He lives in Baton Rouge, and we got connected through Instagram and saw a pretty incredible transformation. Reached out to him, and he was kind enough to sit down and chat with me. And so maybe Josh, we can just start with a little bit about yourself, where you're from.
Yeah, so thanks for having me today. So I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the heart of Louisiana, as we like to say here. And I've been here all my life, and I'm a communications consultant, so I own my communications firm. I mainly work with an app developer and also a political action committee. So I have two different hats that I like to wear. One's dealing with robots, the other one's dealing with people who do way too much. And I try to.
Okay, and you look pretty slim and trim right now, but I think if I'm not mistaken, I saw that you lost 269 pounds. Is that right?
That is right. So I used to weigh 470 pounds, and 479, I guess, to be exact. I always tell people, if you're gonna say I'm overweight, get the right number. So 479, and yeah, now I don't. Now I weigh 210. So I had gastric bypass June of '09, and it's been a tough battle ever since. But yeah, that was the catalyst for it.
Okay, wow. And growing up, what was kind of your expectation of food and health? And maybe you can, since you are from the South, you're from Louisiana, maybe you can talk specifically about being from the South and how that kind of forms your expectations of food.
Yeah. I mean, we're all about food right down here. It's, the phrase of, we eat to live. Well, it's the opposite here, right? We live to eat. Every single thing is surrounded by what time are you going to eat. And really with me, it was a little different. So I'm not your traditional Louisiana boy outside of just loving food. I don't like, this is probably going to, like, people are going to hate me. I don't like gumbo. I don't like etouffee. These are like traditional Southern Louisiana food. I don't like sauce pecans, as they're called. Love crawfish. But my thing came in is I hardly ever ate breakfast because I woke up way too late. If I ate lunch, it was hardly anything. So when it came to dinner time, I just ate, and I would have a regular serving, but then I would have seconds, but the seconds would be a full regular serving and sometimes thirds. So I was always a busy kid. So with that, like I hardly ate snacks. It was just when I ate so many different servings and helpings. And being a Louisiana boy and a Southern boy, I'm sure, going to grandma's house, mom's house, if there was food, you had to eat. Like you couldn't say no, otherwise you were unhealthy. Something was wrong with you. So anytime there was food, I had to eat something. So there was that.
Yeah, and it's almost like here, sometimes if you don't go for seconds, it can almost be seen as you don't like the food or it's rude.
Right, it's insulting, and you have to make a happy plate, and so, you have to make a happy plate, which is completely clean. And that's something I had to break myself out of. The fact that I could leave food on the table and food on my plate. I have a 4-year-old niece, so I'm very involved with, helping to raise or whatever. And I try now to make sure that I don't tell her to make sure to have a happy plate because I don't want that pattern to develop with her to where she feels like she constantly has to eat everything that's on her plate.
And growing up, was everyone were other people around you overweight? Like, was it kind of the norm? Was it accepted, or were you kind of the exception?
I was always the fattest kid, always. At home, I have two older sisters and amazing parents and amazing sisters. One sister, the middle one, was not. She was always the athlete, and the other three were always on the overweight side. Now it's kind of shifted to where we're all kind of doing really well. But yeah, in school, I was always the fat kid. And it honestly never bothered me. A lot of times I would make fun of it for the sake of making fun of it, not for hiding the fact that I was a fat kid, just because it was funny. If we played like Heads Up, 7 Up or some game, we had to fall down on the floor really quickly, like Duck, Duck, Goose. One day in second grade, I realized I made the floor shake, and the teacher told me not to do it anymore. So I kept doing it because I thought it was funny. And so, yeah, so it didn't matter to me. I was always the fattest kid and basketball teams, everything. So you just kind of fell into your niche. And for me, that was being the fat kid.
Yeah. I know you said you did gastric bypass. Had you tried to lose weight before and were unsuccessful, or it wasn't necessarily a priority? What kind of was the turning point for you, and maybe the journey leading up to that.
Yeah, like I said, I was always a busy kid, mainly busy with organizations. I was trying to build my resume at the age of 5 because I was that twisted of a kid. So I did basketball, I did baseball, um, president of this and that. But so and with all that, there came stigmas, and so of course there were random times where I did Weight Watchers, I did the Atkins diet. I would look at books that said do this diet if that counts. So I didn't do every book, I didn't do every single thing. But honestly, it was, let's see, June. No, it was about 2007. My mom, who's overweight, had said, "Hey, let's do gastric bypass." I had no desire. I was in college. I worked for the basketball team at LSU. So for me, it didn't bother me. I mean, I've always been around athletes or physical trainers or personal trainers, whatever. But that never bothered me. I thought they were stupid, to be honest. And it was then, and I wanted to do it with her. She asked me to do it, and my mom is not one of those who tries to do reverse psychology, even though she is a psychologist. She's not. She's very direct. She just wanted someone to do it with her. And I decided to do that. Turns out she had pneumonia, so she couldn't do it at the time. And so I carried the torch and went on my own.
Wow, and what was that process like? Because I haven't really had an opportunity to chat with too many people who've done it. And the other thing is, I know that it's no small. I saw from a couple of your videos. It's a pretty intense. Well, maybe actually that was from some of the other stuff, but it's no small feat. Can you kind of talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, gosh. I mean, people assume that it's an easy way out to cop out. I've heard that throughout the years. You hadn't had to fight hard, you hadn't had to do anything or work hard for it. But the process to getting it will mess you up if you're not ready. I mean, you have to. For me, we were trying to get insurance to pay for it, so that was a year and a half battle to get insurance to pay for the whole thing, and they finally did. So there was that aspect of it. And you had to go to so many doctor visits, and I'm not like a super emotional kumbaya kind of guy. So it was taking on all of that extra. So I was fine for the most part, but then it was just still emotional, like stress. You have to go for a psych eval beforehand. And then once you actually have the surgery, it's not easy. You have to learn how to re-eat again. Like you're starting over from scratch. Your stomach is an ounce, and all you can have for protein is liquid that tastes disgusting. Liquid protein, broth. You're scared because you don't know what you can eat and can't eat, because if you eat the wrong thing, you'll be in the bathroom for like 10 hours and it won't be a good one. So it's a really, really scary mental thing. And honestly, I was not an insecure person grossly beforehand. After that, the surgery, honestly, because I thought I was prepared for it. It messed with me mentally and emotionally. And that part I was not prepared for.
Yeah, I think I saw somewhere that you said that I never had so much insecurity about my weight and my body until after I had gastric bypass. And do you think it made you think about your body differently, or was it, you were going through all this and you wanted to be successful? What was it you think that kind of triggered the insecurity there?
Yeah. When I was always the fattest kid, I never let that deter me from looking the best. Right. So I would drop money on things. Did not matter. My paychecks went to all clothes for days. Did not matter. I had to make sure that I looked the best and that people didn't see, okay, fat kid, slow kid, dumb kid, and so I knew how to address for that as best as I possibly could. Looking back on it, I mean, I made some stupid decisions and risk, but that's fine. What's life without risk? But afterwards, I kept changing so quickly. I couldn't buy like a ton of new clothes because I was always changing. Like it would be 2 months in this size, then 2 months in the next size. And I don't really know too much about chemical imbalances and whatnot, but there'd be moments to where I'd be driving to school and campus and like, I'm going to, really take my car and throw it onto the other side of the road. And I was like, that's such a stupid thought, because it would be why? Because I didn't know how to deal with myself. And just the insecurity of looking and saying, how do I look today? How do people view me today? People telling you, oh my gosh, you look so great. You're like, as opposed to what? You never told me anything when I was fat, so now I look greater. Now I'm a happier person. Um, it was all of that mixed together. People's expectations of me, what I thought I was supposed to look like and be like, that sent me into just a mental headspace I never had before.
Wow. And I think I saw that you also had skin surgery. Is that right? So can you kind of talk about that and maybe what made you decide to do it, when you decided to do it, and then also kind of what that process was like?
Sure. So I tried to have skin surgery, skin removal surgery, um, 2 years out afterwards, thinking maybe I'm done. I had lost like 100 and almost 50 pounds the first 2 years. So I'm thinking I must be done. Like, let's get rid of some of this extra flab. But no, you have to wait till 3 years. And then that didn't work out financially or just time wise. And so it felt like this was the right time. So I had it last December. And so right about 6.5 years after surgery, I had skin removal surgery, and that in itself was fun and interesting. My doctor at Associates of Plastic Surgery was the best. His name was John Dean. So I loved his name. It was like two first names, and he was just a really cool guy, John Dean. And I had my arms done. I got my male boobs taken off, and my dilapidated muffin top is what I call it. So it was technical terms. I think it's gynecomastia, brachioplasty, and abdominoplasty. If any of the doctors out there, or if you go to try to have someone has a surgery, they can't go in and say I want get my muffin top off, get the bus driver arm off and moves. I don't think they would understand what they mean. But that was me. That's what I went in and said. So that happened December, and I was at a commission for about 3 weeks. I'm a tough guy, so I thought it was going to be a quicker, but about 3 weeks.
Okay, wow. Um, and now is there anything that surprised you emotionally, physically, spiritually? Since the change, since the transformation. I know it sounds like it's been a little while. Are there any things that you've had kind of happen to you? I know you mentioned people telling you look good now, uh,
Yeah.
and you had all those nice clothes before, which is kind of messed up. But is there anything that's kind of surprised you about the process?
I would say one, like I mentioned, people coming up and telling you things, and not knowing how to take that as a compliment or not. And then, actually, three, in some cases, looking older, you know, uh, the saying "black don't crack." I'm thinking, okay, we'll be young forever. It's fine. Sometimes I'm like, man, like I see like a wrinkle or something that I never had before. I don't know. It's because I deal with teenagers, like in student ministry a lot, so maybe that's what that was. Um, and and really just the emotional drain that it takes on you, the pressure of once you lose the weight, keeping the weight off. Because I went through like a year depression to where it was like, so I got down to my smallest, and I did look a little sick, but I didn't care. It was one of those, let's just go with it. And so I went through like a bulimia fit. It lasted very, very short, but it was still something I had to deal with. Like at that time, my best friend and personal trainer walked out on me just randomly, went ghost mode. So it was about a year. So I put like a ton of weight back on, maybe 30, 40 pounds, but it felt a lot bigger. And so that was probably the biggest for me, just having that setback and then finally being okay with that setback. And that was even worse because I got complacent. And it really, really messed me up for that year and a half, actually. And I'm happy to be out of that. That was about 3 years ago. So all of those things really just kind of messed me up for a little bit.
Were there kind of some structures that you put in place getting out of that in terms of whether it was food or socially to kind of help make sure that you were able to stay at a weight that you were comfortable with and where you wanted to be?
Yeah, I mean, really, first, I mean, it came down to spiritual at first. It was like, hey, let me get myself spiritually in the right place, in the right mindset. That was paramount. Then after that, it was, okay, cool. Let me get a personal trainer who will, at first, like, let's not be friends, just be a personal trainer. Like, I can't deal with this right now. So I got back in the gym first after I got spiritually checked, and then I met a guy who's not really my best friend, but and personal trainer. But it didn't work out that way at first. But we keep things very separate as much as we possibly can. And he is my accountability, and he knows the way I like to be trained. Like I hate people encouraging me. I hate people yelling at me. You can yell, actually, that's fine. But don't tell me you got one more to go. You can do it, because in any salvation I have inside of me wants to turn around and just lose it on you because I hate it. It just bothers me. I'm a weird person. Um, but he's accountability and realizing that I'm honestly okay with how I am and who I am. That was a huge thing because it was right around like the quarter life crisis, and so everything's thrown at you. Am I an adult today? What's happening? Do I like where I'm at in life? Going to music festivals, sleeping in car. It was just a weird year and a half. But yeah, I would say at first getting spiritually in the right mindset, getting a gym membership again, and then the personal trainer who I have now come right after that.
Okay, awesome. And I know you said you went from working with a basketball team and thinking they were athletes, not necessarily thinking the most from. Obviously, you have a personal trainer now. What physically, what physical activities did you start to enjoy once you started kind of making those changes and heading down this road? And then also, what does that look like now?
Yeah, when I first started to lose weight and could actually last through like a 10-minute workout, boxing and kickboxing. That's it. Like me and my buddy at the time, we saw like the ad for it, and so I was like, good, like this is what we're doing. Like outside of just like the one time free membership week, that we all just jump from memberships to memberships or change our emails. That was the first thing, and I loved it. It was so much fun. I did that for 2 years, and then I got that personal trainer. Went to the dark ages. Then I did CrossFit. CrossFit, it's like a bunch of weird people, but they're really cool people because I was one of them. And that to me was such a mental. That didn't help mentally, to be honest with you. I loved every workout. Like seeing my hands bloody and scraped up, and it's like, yeah, this is incredible. But that's a whole different subject, a whole different day. I'm not hating on it, but for me mentally, I couldn't handle it. But now it's my best friend in person in real life. We do virtual online training. So he sends me all my workouts through email and through an app, of course, and sends me everything through there and all my meal plans and everything. So I'm able to follow that. And it's usually about 3 days of strength, 2 days of intense cardio, because I'm still in the CrossFit mindset of, hey, if I'm working out for 20 minutes, then I'm done, right? Because CrossFit's all about intensity and short time. And so, yeah, it's like Tabata and intense cardio and then weights 3 times a week.
Okay, awesome. And I know that you have a YouTube channel called the Formerly Fatty Chronicles.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit about and what your the content that you have and what your hosts for that are?
Yeah. So I'm terribly infrequent at it. It first started at whenever I was going through the skin removal surgery. It's like, let's just do it. And I dropped that video at the same time that I was in surgery. I didn't have to deal with all the comments, good and bad or whatever, but I dropped it. I'm in public relations, so I know when to drop something. And so I tried to do like a Beyonce midnight, drop. And I started just to chronicle everything. And the only word that I hated that I really had to overcome was the word big. Outside of that, I didn't mind the word fat, doughboy, any of that. I just felt like people were being ridiculous, so I didn't care. So yeah, former fatty, it doesn't bother me. Hopefully it doesn't bother the people because you give power to words and that has no power. But former fatty chronicles and really just chronicle at first the journey of what it looks like to have a huge plastic surgery like I did, 6 hours, and and coming out of that and then working out again. And I did a dance competition for a local charity here, something I never thought I would do. Right afterwards, like 6 months after surgery, and that was intense. And so we chronicled that a little bit. So when I do post on YouTube, it just shows, hey, here's some updates. Here's what's going on in my life. Here's how it can possibly look for you. And the cool thing is my doctor's been like 100% behind it and tells people, if you want to know what to expect, here's an idea. Go check out this blog. And it's fun. It's fun helping people out and letting them know there's life after surgery, there's life after being fat, and it's all depends on what you put into it.
That's awesome. Um, if you could tell somebody who was at the beginning of this journey, who was maybe where you were when you were 400 plus pounds, some advice to give them some hope, what would that be?
Yeah, I would first say, I mean, you have to be confident with yourself. Um, I know that sounds so ethereal and cliche and be confident, but it is true. And for me, that was spiritually, always spiritually grounded as much as I possibly could be. I know that we all have different ways of getting there, but for me, that was it. And being confident with yourself first and foremost will always get you off on a right platform and a right mindset to make any of these types of decisions. So yeah, like I said, for me, that was spiritually grounded. And once you're doing that, then you can make a clear mindset and a clear decision of what it is that you want to do. I'm not one who believes that everyone should be, if you are overweight, hey, let me just stay overweight. I mean, because there are some health implications of it, you know, but I don't believe there's one ideal size either for every single person. So I think it's being confident, and then after that, setting goals, and then how to implement them. With communication, you have to do that. You have to come up with what your goals are. You have to know what your brand is and what your goals and the tactics to achieve it. And I think it's the same thing with what we're doing, with our personal lives and our bodies and our health. It's who am I? What do I want? And how am I going to achieve it? I want a six pack. We're almost there. I'm still a little swollen. So my six pack in the summer is not happening right now. So that was something I had to deal with. But maybe like by Christmas, Santa will bring me a six pack. So that's my goal.
It's just hidden. It's just hiding right now. It's
It
coming.
really is. Beforehand, it was like under like 10 kegs. Now it's now it's under there somewhere. I can almost feel it. If I suck in and turn to the side, I'm like, oh, I think I see a semblance of an ab. Semblance of an ab. And then I start eating cake and realize, well, there goes that ab.
Well, and then if I know your kind of point to decide to start changing was a little different. But if you could go back and have a conversation with your 469-pound self to try and kind of whether it was just encourage going through that process or maybe even before that and encourage starting change before then, what do you think something what do you think is something that you could tell yourself at that point that would have resonated with your 469-pound self?
Yeah, I think it was the internal decision why I finally decided to do that. I would have put an emphasis on that earlier. When I was just on my own after my mom, hers got delayed. The reason why it kept me going, outside of being annoyed with the insurance company, was because I realized I was about to graduate college. I was going into a field that is largely vanity based, and it's people based, and people have their opinions. And I wouldn't always be dealing with people in the South to where it's just normal to be an overweight person. There's a lot of stigma with being overweight. People think, again, you're dumb, you're slow, you can't do anything. And that was something I always tried to defy. But especially right before that table, I got on that table, it was, you're about to graduate college. And you already have some things against you, as far as public perception, right or wrong. And do this for your future. I mean, you don't have any health problems right now. So let's do this beforehand. You want to get married. You want to have kids. So you want a gorgeous hot smoking wife. And she can look however, but you need to be ripped. You need to be in a better position. And so for me, it was all about future. It was, I want a great job. I want to have a smoking hot wife, and kids. And I want to be able to see my kids, and that's what did it for me. It was those few things. So now I have a great job. Do not have a smoking hot wife. Do not have any kids, but they're okay. They're coming after the abs. I think they're waiting on the abs.
Yeah. Christmas.
Yeah.
Christmas, Santa will bring you a smoking hot wife and a six pack.
That's right, and then not kids right away. I mean, that's fine if they come along with with the wife and everything, but still with smoking hot wife first.
Yeah. In series, so to speak.
In series. Yes.
Well, that's all great. Where can people find out more about you, what you're doing, and connect?
Yeah. So I am everywhere. Snapchat still freaks me out, even though I'm there. Same thing with Tumblr. But I am everywhere. You can really search me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Josh W. Howard. I try to keep it idiot proof with that, and mainly because I'm the biggest idiot when it comes to technology. So it's Josh W. Howard. And then my YouTube is Former Fatty Chronicles. So look for me in one of those two places, and you will probably find me.
Awesome. Well, Josh, thanks for the time. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for your honesty and inspiration, and kind of taking us through the surgical side of things. And I really appreciate it. And I look forward to chatting with you soon. Hopefully here soon in either Lafayette or Baton Rouge, since we're only an
Right.
hour apart.
Over etouffee and like gumbo and potato salad and sauce pecans. I hope. I can't wait.
I was thinking the Whole Foods cold bar more like it.
We do Whole Foods, and you can maybe find me a smoking hot wife. So yeah, I
There we
like
go.
it.
Perfect. I'll be your wingman.
Yes, I love this.
All right. Well, thanks again. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks.